Hey troops, Roxy here and welcome to Roxy Plays Games. Welcome back to Roxy Plays Games. Yes, it's been a little while since I've uploaded any videos. I'm sorry, I've had loads of stuff going on and I just haven't really had the time to get some recordings done. But I'm back, hopefully, with some more regular videos. Before I get into this video, I want to do my usual thank you. So thank you for everyone who has liked my previous videos. And thank you for everyone who's subscribed to the channel. As always, it is really appreciated. Right, today's video, what is this going to be all about? Well, as you can probably guess by looking at the screen that is showing at the moment, this is showing Vatsim. Vatsim is a virtual air traffic simulation. The International Online Flying Network, as it says here in the description. And basically what this is a network for enthusiasts for pilots and air traffic controllers so that they can simulate what would happen in real life. Obviously without all of the safety issues that goes on with crashing in real life, it's all done in your flight sim or within a simulated air traffic control environment. It's really good fun. It's educational. Certainly, it can be a little bit daunting at the start for new people that are doing either flying or air traffic controlling. But once you kind of understand it, you learn the basics. It is actually really enjoyable, and it's something that you can do with friends. There's a whole load of communities all around the world, and flight schools. There's flying virtual airline companies out there that all fly on Vatsim as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting out a bunch of videos. I'm not sure how many episodes it's going to be in total. We'll just kind of play it by ear. But the first few videos are going to be guides to flying on Vatsim. Now, please note, I'm not a professional pilot. I'm not a professional air traffic controller. I am just like many of the people in this environment who just enjoy it. But I just want to bring my uh, element into this, in the fact that I love teaching, I love helping people out, and if this can help at least one person out there get into flying on Vatsim, then my goal has been achieved. So what do we need to do? First thing you want to do is you want to go to the Vatsim website. Just type in Vatsim in Google or whatever browser you're using, and then you're going to be greeted with a screen like this, and you want to have a read through. Vatsim is not for everyone, I will tell you that now. Vatsim is not for people who want to just fly in any direction that they want, at any altitude that they want, any speed that they want, and essentially mess around, or whatever you want to do. Doing your own thing. Vatsim does have rules and regulations, codes of conduct, and all this sort of stuff. They are a semi-professional network, although everyone's a volunteer. If you break any of the rules, you can have your account suspended or even banned if you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing, because they obviously want to simulate real life. And yes, although there's no real life collisions in the simulator, that's not the point. There are people on here who use this very seriously. There are people on here that are real life pilots or real life air traffic controllers that are using this for practice, for their real jobs, or training purposes. So obviously they do have those rules. So unfortunately, guys, if you're one of those people, then I would maybe suggest stopping the video. But if you are interested in having a little bit of a semi-professionalism in your flight sim environment, then this may be for you. So yeah, head over to Vatsim, have a look, have a read around, read on the about bits, all those different things, and then if you think it's for you, then obviously you can go through the joining process. So you got pilots getting started here, or if you want to be an air traffic controller, I'm currently going through my training, so I've done all of my theory. training and exams. I'm just going through the practical side of things now, and then hopefully in the next few months I will be a qualified air traffic controller, and I'll bring you some videos on that. But yeah, have a look through, read everything basically, especially like the policy and bits and pieces like that. And then once you're happy, choose the region that you are closer to. So obviously if you're in the UK, you'll want to go for Vatsim UK, which is what I'm part of. And yeah, it's fairly straightforward. You put in some details, and once you have signed up, you'll be given a Vatsim ID. This is for you, so every single pilot, every single air traffic controller will have a Vatsim ID number, and that's obviously how they log what you're doing, and that's how you work up your ranks and your qualifications, whether it's pilot or ATC. And also, if you're on the other end, if you're the naughty end of the stick, where they can obviously have a little word with you and potentially give you a telling off if need be. Once you've got all that sorted out and you've got yourself signed up, the next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get audio for whatever sim it is you're flying on. So if you go on the home screen, it's got about audio for Vatsim. Click on that, click on update my software, and then down the left hand side you'll have the various different options depending on what you're doing. So if you're going to be an ATC, like for me, I use Euroscope. If you're flying on Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that's what I'm going to be using for these videos going forward, it would be vPilot. If you're on X-Plane, and I have done some videos on X-Plane and flying on Vatsim on X-Plane, so certainly if you're an X-Plane user, maybe go and check some of those videos out. I do go through some more details with X-Plane, which is different from Microsoft Flight Simulator, like a thing called CSL files, which is basically allows you to see other planes. So if you're flying on X-Plane, you might want to go and watch that video. I can't remember which one. If I remember to put a link in the description, I will, but I'll probably forget by the time I've done this end of this video. But I used X-Pilot when I was on X-Plane. I did try X-Walks, but didn't really like it. Swift, I just didn't understand. X-Pilot is really, really simple. And again, if you're using P3D, FSX or FS9, you'll probably want to use one of these options. But today we're going to be using, and going forward, we're going to be using vPilot. And if I do any more flights on X-Plane in Vatsim, we'll jump into X-Pilot. So you'll need to get that, really simple. Click on the link, it'll give you some information, and then obviously you just download it. That's fairly straightforward. So once you've got registered with Vatsim, you've got your audio for your particular sim that you're going to be using. The next thing that you're going to want to do is test it out. Make sure that you can see planes and make sure that you can hear. And potentially speak if you're going to be doing any talking. So obviously you'll need headset, mic for doing that, but you don't need to. If you don't want to talk, you can do text within the flight sim and talking to ATC. I personally started that way and I really disliked it. I actually found it harder to type than it was to talk, because by the time you actually type it all up, especially when you're mid-flight, you could have flown a few miles before you typed in what you need to type. And if you got ATC telling you to turn left, turn right, go up, go down, slow down, speed up, it can actually be more confusing and very flustering when you're trying to type as well. So if you can, use a mic. They're not going to know you. You know, it doesn't really matter. And don't worry about squeaky voices. I've got the worst accent and worst voice in the world. I really disliked it, and when I started doing videos, I didn't like it. But you know, I've got over that. So get over it. If you don't like your own voice, just use a mic in the headset. It will make life a lot easier. So yeah, what we're going to do now is have a look. We need to have a look to see where Planes are, so we can see that we can see other people, and where ATC is, so we can make sure that the audio is working. I use Simaware. It is actually part of Vatsim, so on Vatsim, if you go down to here, view map, click on this link here, it will take you to Simaware, which I've already got open here. And this is what it'll look like. Black is the land mass, grey is the sea. The numbers will dictate how many people are online in that area, whether it's pilots or ATC. And it kind of gives you a little blue area that's covering, or those numbers are covering. So we can see in kind of mid to West Europe, or East Europe, sorry, we've got 148. In the UK, we've got 45. Scotland, we've got 22. West Europe, so Spain, France area, we've got 42. So we can see how many are online. If we zoom in a little bit more, it kind of splits up, and then we see all of these green planes. If we click on this tab here where it says ATC, it will actually break it down. So we can see these blocks here. These are center controller blocks. If it's grey like that, it means there's no center controller on. If it's white like this, we can see we have got center controllers online. Center control is kind of your upper level, so they're controlling the high and low airspace for planes flying in that area. From there, going downwards, we've got this blue circle, which is your approach controller, and they're in charge of planes coming in and out of a particular airport. They may interact with you if you are going through a particular airspace and there's other planes, but as far as I'm aware, and I'm not an approach controller, so I don't know the intricate details, but as far as I'm aware, they're only really in charge of planes landing and taking off. Well, not landing and taking off, sorry, going into approach to an airport, or after they've taken off. From there, going down the way, we've got tower, and so you got the white blocks, which is center controller. That's your top level. The blue circle, which is approach, which obviously they've got a circle of influence, so to speak. And then down from there, you have got the red T, which is tower. They're in charge of takeoff and landings. You've got the green G, which is your ground controller. They're in charge of taxiing to the runway and taxiing from the runway, as well as starting their engines and pushing back. And then something that isn't online at the moment is a D, a blue D. If you're on this, I'm just trying to see if there's any Ds. Not seeing any Ds. Please leave those comments to yourself. I know what you're thinking. The blue D will dictate or represent clearance and delivery, so they're in charge of checking your flight plan, and then obviously doing any changes if necessary. And the orange A is the air traffic information service, the ATIS, and that's where you obviously get your weather information for that particular airport. So if you was doing a flight, you would load into an airport, you would listen to ATIS to find out what runways in use, what weather is, what the QNH is, and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to go into detail in the next episode on weather and route planning and all that sort of stuff. They would then pass you, or not they would pass you over, you would then listen and chat to clearance and delivery. You would file your flight plan. They would check it, and then if there's any changes need to be done, then that would be done there. And again, we will do a flight, and I'll show you how all of that works in a future episode. Sorry, I got hiccups. From there, they would then hand you over to ground. Ground would give you permission to start your engines, to push back, and they would taxi you to the start of the runway. So if we just zoom into Gatwick, zoom all the way down here, so we can see we've got a bunch of planes here. It looks like we've got this plane here that's taxiing out onto this runway here. So let's say this guy here was parked up over here. You would speak to clearance delivery, get your clearance done. They would hand you over to ground. Ground would push you back, start your engines, taxi you to the holding point for the runway, whichever holding point and whichever runway is going to be in use. You would then go on to tower. Tower would then give you permission to take off. You take off, and then they would then hand you over to approach. An approach would vector you out if necessary, or you just follow your flight plan, depending on how busy it is, out of their control area. From there, you then get handed over to a center controller if they're online. So that's how it works. And then obviously on the way in, you'll be on center, then approach, then tower, then ground. You wouldn't speak to clearance in delivery, obviously, because that's just for clearance. That is how it works. So when you first, I know that seemed a little bit long-winded for me to get to where I wanted to, but I just thought I might as well explain that while I'm here, because it does make a little bit of sense. When you're first loading up in the sim, for the very first time on Vatsim, you're going to want to go and find out if everything's working. So let's use Manchester. I was going to go to Heathrow, but we'll use Manchester. Have a look at the airport. Have a look at your sim. So obviously depending on what sim you're using. So if you're using Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is what I'm doing, let me just bring this up. I can see there's planes on at Manchester, and I know that there's ground and ATIS online at Manchester. So what I can do is I can go into here, load up Manchester, zoom into details, and then looking at the map, if I just bring it back up, there we go. Looking at the map and looking at your sim, try and work out where planes are parked, because you don't really want to park on a plane. I mean, you could park up the back here where the GA kind of planes park, or I could go on like stand 50 something around here. But yeah, look at your flight sim, look at the map to see where planes are parked. So I'm going to go for 52. That will do the job. So 52, set as departure. Obviously X-Plane 11 is slightly different. You do it in the menu slightly differently. But load into wherever you think is going to be a good spot to load into, and then obviously start up your sim. And then what we're going to do is we're going to load in, and then we're going to see whether we can see other people, and we're going to listen to see whether our audio is working. Okay, right, let's click ready to fly, and we're inside the plane. Cool. Right, so I am using the A320 Neo. This is the LEAP version, which has this little cool tablet in here. The only downside with this version, and I just need to work it out, and if anyone does know how to do it, please let me know in the comments. I need to work out how to change my liveries, because on the standard version I've got all of my liveries. On the Elite version I've got this livery, and and there's another version, another livery, and that's it. I've only got 2 liveries, which isn't great. But here we are in Manchester. So if we go back over to our SimAware map, bring that back up. Bring you across here. Ba-dang! So we can see there should be 4 planes. Now there is a little bit of a delay when planes are moving on SimAware, so please bear that in mind. And even with other softwares, there is a little bit of a delay. I use SimToolkit Pro for my flight planning, and that will also show planes and ATC online. Again, with that, there is a little bit of a delay. So as you can see now, this plane is now taxiing. This plane, I'm not sure what he's doing. He might be doing circuit somewhere, but there's a plane gone somewhere, so I don't know if there's a plane come in, plane's gone out, or whatever. But either way, there is always going to be a little bit of a delay, so just bear that in mind. But what we need to do now is we need to load up our client, whether it's vPilot or xPilot. This will connect us to Vatsim. This will allow us to see other planes and to talk to other people. So we're going to click on the connect button. you're going to put in your call sign. So I'm going to be Skyways 9049, which is UKV 9049. This is the flight school, if you want to call it that, the virtual airline company that I'm part of, Fly UK. The type code, so the type code of your plane, so if you use it in a Cessna 172, it'll be C172. If you use it in a Boeing 737, it'll be B737. And then click on connect. You should get some green wordings here. If you get any red errors, something's gone wrong. Down the left hand side, you then should start populating people that's online. And it looks like we've now got clearance and delivery online. Before we had ground on, now we've got clearance and delivery and ground online. And ATIS is the weather information service. So if I go on to this screen and jump into the plane, well, in fact, let's jump out of the plane and just see if we can see anyone. So there's the guy that was taxiing. There he is. He's just about to take off. And we've got a guy here taxiing, so he should come past. Now, X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator, you're going to see different planes. CSL files for X-Plane is going to be slightly different. Microsoft Flight Simulator works on whatever liveries you've got with your plane. And if you've got someone that's on X-Plane and someone that's on Microsoft Flight Simulator and someone that's on P3D, they all might be slightly different. The planes might be slightly different, deliveries might be slightly different, and also the airport layout may be very slightly different. But the main thing is, I can see a plane took off, I can see two planes taxiing, and that kind of coincides with what I was seeing on Simulware, albeit a slightly delayed on there. Awesome, so that's fine. So we are seeing people, like I said, X-Plane, you may need to download CSL files to see planes. In fact, you probably will do. Microsoft Flight Simulator has that all built in because obviously it has a multiplayer client already built in to the sim. Right, next thing we want to do is see if our audio is working. So let me bring vPilot back over. And there's a few different things you can do. You can listen to ATIS. So if we tune ATIS in on our radios, now what I will need to do, if I move you out of the way, go back into the cockpit, obviously you're going to need to turn the batteries on so we can hear the radio. So let me jump up here and turn battery 1 on. And we'll turn battery 2 on as well. So we've got our radio working, that's all fine. Now what you can do is you can tune your frequency and obviously move it onto the active. This isn't a tutorial on how to use the plane, and all of the tutorials going forward aren't going to be plane tutorials. It's going to be Vatsim tutorials. So I am going to take the presumption that you know how to fly the plane, you know how to do your frequencies, your squawk codes and all that sort of stuff. If you don't, then I would recommend going and searching for tutorials on how to do that. I won't be going through that side of things, I'm afraid. So the first thing I'm going to do is what you can do is you can tune your frequency using the dials, or if you type in .com, 1 for your primary and 2 for your secondary radio, and then the frequency. So ATIS is on 121.975, and then press enter.
020 Zulu, automatic. Runway in use 23 right, transition level flight level 60, surface wind 320 degrees 6 knots, varying between 270 and 010 degrees.
Right, let me turn it off. So that's ATIS. We can hear ATIS, so audio is working. You can obviously do a mic check as well. So once you've gone through your settings and you've done all of your mic settings and your hearing settings, we can do a quick radio check. So if I was to tune into clearance delivery, .com 121.700, changes the frequency onto clearance and delivery. So this is the bottom person in our chain going all the way to the top. So as I said, you got ATIS, then clearance and delivery, then ground, tower who's not online, approach who's not online, and then we've got London Centre controller online. I'm not sure. I don't think they have any interaction with Manchester. I think it's just London North controller who will. But obviously they're within our frequency range, so you'll see everyone within your frequency range, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's who you're going to interact with. Now, when you want to do things like radio checks and when you're doing your communications back and forth, just wait a few seconds and make sure that there isn't already a conversation going on, and then you can obviously go in. So I'm just going to do a very quick radio check just to make sure that my mic is working. I know it is, but just for the purpose of this video. Good morning, Manchester delivery, Skyways 9049 for radio check, over. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't click on this. Derp. I clicked off that so we couldn't hear anyone. I wonder if that actually changed. No, it didn't. So he probably heard me and I didn't hear him talking back. Good morning, Manchester delivery, Skyways 9049 for radio check, over.
9049 and correction, Manchester for readability 5.
Thank you. Right, so readability 5, so that's all fine. Right, let me turn the batteries off. So we've got no radios working. Cool. So that is that side of things. So let's just recap what we have done and what we needed to do. And then we'll call it an end of an episode for this particular part. So get yourself onto Vatsim. Read through all the documents that you think you'll want to read through. Certainly the about page is going to be more relevant and what it's all about. If you're happy, get yourself signed up, get the audio sorted, and once you've done that, load up Simulware. Like I said, there are many others out there. Google them, find out which ones you want to use. There's VatSpy, VatMap, VatTastic. There's loads of them out there. But if you just Google in Vatsim map, then you'll probably get a whole bunch of them there. And like I say, you can get them on the App Store and stuff like that for your tablet or iPad or your phone. Find out where planes are. Find out what controllers are online. So as you can see, Manchester's got clearance, delivery and ground online, as well as ATIS. So yeah, you've got an approach online here at Bristol. So find out what controllers are online. You've got London controller online now, this big white blob, London Centre controller. Load in to your sim, load into the airport that's got a few planes online. There's no point in loading into one that's showing one plane, because by the time you actually get in, they may have gone. So try and find one that's got a bunch of planes. Generally, Gatwick, Heathrow, Manchester, and Edinburgh are going to be, and Dublin as well, are going to be kind of the 4 or 5 popular ones. Bristol, I don't know why there's so many people here at Bristol. I don't generally see anyone here, but there is, so that's cool. So yeah, find some planes and air traffic controllers that are online at a particular airport, load in, and make sure that one, you can see people. So jump outside, make sure that, I wonder if we've got any planes still left here. No, can't see any. They've all gone now, haven't they? Can't see any in the background there. So yeah, it looks like they've all gone. But yeah, once you have loaded in, you can see people, and listen to ATIS to make sure that your audio is working. Do a quick radio check. with whoever's at the bottom of the list, so clearance to delivery, if not ground, if not tower, if not approach. Make sure that your mic's working, and then that's you good to go. Obviously, what you can do then is disconnect, because you don't want to be sat here waiting, because people will be potentially wanting to load into that spot, or the ATC might want to park someone at that spot. So just disconnect, and that's you done. That's all the checks done, and that's you ready to go. The next things that you're going to need to do from there, and this is going to be the next episode, is things like charts, route planning, weather, getting everything all prepared for your flight. So the next episode, I'm going to briefly go through what charts are. I'm not going to go into too much detail on how to read them, but I will go through the basics of it so that you have a little bit of a basic understanding of how to do charts, where to get weather information and how to read weather information, because that's obviously a big part of flying, and certainly that's what's going to be on the ATIS, and planning a route with that information that you've gained. So we'll have a look at all of that, and then the third episode, I'm kind of thinking ahead now, the third episode, we will then actually do a flight, and we're going to put all of that information together to crack on with flight. So what I'm planning on doing, this one's being uploaded today on Monday evening. I will upload the second part Tuesday evening, the third part Wednesday evening, and then going forwards from there, we'll do some flights, we'll do some Vatsim flights obviously, and I want to continue with my tour of European capital cities with Fly UK, but I want to do them on Vatsim, so I figured it would make sense to get the Vatsim guides done first, and then if anyone is wanting to join me on a Vatsim flight, just let me know in the comments. So hopefully this has been useful for you. I know this is all theory based and probably a little bit boring for some people. You maybe just wanting to see some flying going on, but we need to get the theory stuff out of the way prior to doing the practical, I guess, and the fun part of actually doing the flying. So if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below. If you want to join me on any Vatsims, again, drop me a message in the comment below. Certainly check out Fly UK as far as a virtual airline company. I would thoroughly recommend them, and I have done some tutorials again in my channel. Go and check them out if you want a bit more information. Other than that, I shall catch you tomorrow for some charts, weather and flight planning video, and then Wednesday we'll actually get the flight done. So stay safe everyone, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.